I am Brianna Lyman, and I am a graduate here at the College of Worcester. Each year, us seniors get the opportunity to conduct our very own research under the guidance of a faculty member, or if you're lucky like me, two faculty members, in a process known as IS. For my IS, I decided to return back to Trinity United Church of Christ, my summer host organization of my social justice fellowship, which was made possible through APEX, another awesome College of Worcester resource. Trinity UCC is home of a volunteer breakfast program. Volunteers come early in the morning, 5 days a week, to prepare and serve a hot breakfast for free to anyone who comes through Trinity's doors. For 8 weeks over the summer, I was fortunate enough to be one of these volunteers and to establish myself as part of the community of volunteers and guests. As I learned more about the guests who often face precarious situations such as poverty or homelessness, I began to realize a stark public health concern between the food offered to the guests at Trinity and the health status of these guests. Ladle after ladle of butter poured onto toast, scoop after scoop of brown sugar on oatmeal, and nobody seems to tell me when to stop as I pour white sugar onto cereal. Enormous bags and cardboard boxes filled to the brim of pastries and breads that stretched the entirety of long white tables in contrast to the sometimes offered canned fruit. These observations of the abundance of calorically dense but nutritionally lacking foods, such as the pastries, amongst a scarcity of naturally nutrient dense foods, think your fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and healthy unsaturated fats, led me to be concerned about the nutritional adequacy of the diet consumed by Trinity's guests. At the end of my social justice fellowship, I tested whether people would accept a side of peppers and onions on their eggs to add some extra nutrition to their meal. And I was pleasantly surprised that the large bowl of peppers and onions quickly ran out, and guests expressed excitement and appreciations about this addition. From this invaluable social justice fellowship experience, I knew I wanted to continue to make a change to try and increase the quality of life of the diverse guests at Trinity, and was increasingly curious from my previous vegetable experiment about the role of nutrition in the health and livelihoods of the community at Trinity. Thus, for my IS, I decided to take a public health approach to studying the complex anthropological reasons for the diet consumed by guests at this free meal site, as well as diet's biological relationship to health. Almost immediately in my research, I established there was a stark public health concern regarding the correlation between inadequate nutrition and the high rates of diet related diseases in many of the guests at Trinity and in communities facing similar precarious situations. These diet related diseases include cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and oral diseases like periodontitis and dental caries. Did you know that cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and periodontitis are all chronic inflammatory diseases? Studies have previously found that diets rich in convenient foods, such as those high in unhealthy fats and simple sugars, are known to activate inflammatory pathways such as JNK and NF kappa B through a variety of mechanisms such as increased fat deposits, oxidative stress, and my personal favorite to learn about, the gut microbiome. In our digestive tract lives trillions of bacteria and other microorganisms that make up the gut microbiome. Recently, science has increasingly linked the gut microbiome to our holistic well being. Reasoning composition of the gut microbiome influences both mental and physical health. One of the major determinants of the gut microbiome is diet, with studies showing that a diet high in fat increases gut permeability and releases some of the gut's endotoxin bacteria into the bloodstream. Once in the bloodstream, these bacteria are targeted as foreign invaders by immune cells, activating the inflammatory immune response. The only diet-related disease that isn't characterized by inflammation is dental caries, or as you may know them, cavities. Cavities are the result of bacteria that make up the plaque on the teeth. These bacteria metabolize dietary sugars and produce organic acids that dissolve away at the tooth layers. There doesn't appear to be a known cure to reverse cavities or these chronic inflammatory diseases. But similar to how diet can lead to the onset of such diseases, diet can also act as a protective preventative measure or treatment. For example, while refined carbohydrates, which often contain simple sugars, have been associated with inflammation and dental caries, whole grains, which often contain complex sugars and fibers, have been associated with lower levels of inflammation. Complex sugars and dietary elements like fiber are then helpful in preventing blood sugar spikes, promoting satiety, and reducing risk of obesity related inflammation. Fiber also has the super cool effect of ensuring a healthy gut barrier. This is because when specific bacteria in the gut metabolize fibers, they produce SCFAs. By strengthening the gut barrier, endotoxins are less likely to be released, reducing inflammation. SCFAs are also known to reduce inflammation through promoting vasodilation. Vasodilation is the widening of the artery, which allows blood to flow in larger amounts and at higher pressures. Vasodilation is therefore especially beneficial when managing diseases like hypertension, which is defined by having high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes, which is defined by having high blood sugar that increases the overall density of the blood. You know what other type of food is known to have vasodilatory effects? You may have never have guessed it, but it's the fats. Well, more specifically, the healthy mono and polyunsaturated fats. By healthy fats, it may be helpful to think about lean proteins like Greek yogurt, eggs, and fish, as well as plant and plant derived foods such as nuts, seeds, and olive oil. Extra health points seem to be awarded to those who consume extra virgin olive oil. Speaking about plant and plant derived foods, such as these healthy fats and the often glorified fruits and vegetables, these plant foods almost always contain micronutrients known to be the greatest fighters against inflammation: antioxidants. Antioxidants are the name given to any vitamin or mineral that protects against oxidative stress. Oxidative stress occurs naturally as the body ages, but it is dangerous as it acts in a vicious cycle with inflammation. When cells lose an electron, they become a free radical, which damages the cell walls of arteries, causing inflammation, which in turn promotes oxidative stress through creating even more free radicals. Antioxidants are so important in maintaining good health because they can donate their own electrons without becoming free radicals themselves. From my observations and interview analysis, many of the guests at Trinity face great obstacles in achieving a diet rich in many of these beneficial dietary elements, and instead often consume convenient foods such as those high in unhealthy fats and simple sugars that are more accessible to them. Data from my research and other studies reveal that it's not a lack of knowledge that causes people to eat the way they do, as many people express a preference towards fresh and more healthy foods, but communicate gratitude for the food that is provided so they don't have to go hungry. The desire to prevent hunger is powerful, as Lawrence, a recently homeless individual, states. Besides loneliness, the second worst feeling on this planet is hunger. But when fighting hunger, nutrition should not be forgotten. especially when guests like Lawrence communicate that they have cardiovascular disease, but have little choice in what they eat and do not eat. He states in our interview, "It's just more or less fill your belly right now. There's no heart healthy, and I'm appreciative of whatever they give me." I would now like to take a brief moment to discuss Lawrence's comment on how loneliness is the worst feeling in the world, as this leads me to what I believe is my most significant finding of my IS. And that is, Trinity as a free meal site is about so much more than food. It is about community and social ties. In my IS, I create a case study from my research about the typical day in the life of a temporary homeless individual I named Chester. In this case study, I talk about the stigma and the consequential loneliness Chester experiences due to his precarious situation, but how he finds an escape from this loneliness at Trinity. At Trinity, Chester can form relationships with other guests who may have experienced similar challenges, and the volunteers who listen and try to get to know him as a person, even if they cannot completely understand what living such a precarious situation is like. He is also grateful for the volunteers who provide him with a warm meal and is always sure to thank them for this. Social organization representatives also come to Trinity and take the time to listen and try to really get to know the guests so they can help these guests navigate social resources. But how can guests like Chester truly benefit from these resources if they are constantly struggling with poor health that only advances without treatment? Poor health only perpetuates precarious situations, as it can lead to the inability to be able to focus on such things as self-improvement, caring for a family, or holding a job. Prominent volunteer Carrie reasons that receiving adequate nutrition can serve as treatment to preventing or managing poor health, stating they need to have the vitamins and they need the benefits of fruits and vegetables so they don't get sick as often. This is where you come in. You can make a difference through spreading community awareness about this issue and taking steps towards making adequate nutrition available to everyone. After interviewing with many of Trinity's volunteers, including the founders of the breakfast program, I was able to compile a list of actions community members can take that would most benefit the community at Trinity. Some of these actions include becoming a substitute volunteer, volunteering to prep and serve food at your home, and donating needed food items. From my research, I was also able to create a list of recommendations of foods, meals, and cooking techniques that may be most beneficial and well received by the guests at Trinity, including soft foods for those with dental limitations, as well as some healthy to-go options that may alleviate a scarcity mindset that contributes to food waste and the hunger-obesity paradox. A link to both of these lists, as well as the full document of my independent study, can be found in the description down below, or you can scan this QR code at the end of this video. Finally, adequate nutrition is not a complete solution to the poor health brought on by poverty and homelessness. More systemic issues are at play, and more steps will need to be taken. Taking the time to listen to and learn from the people living such precarious situations is the first step towards creating meaningful change to ending health disparities. Thank you for watching, and I hope you are inspired to make a difference, which you can start to do right now by scanning this QR code. Bye.